The rapid spread of new technologies and ideas, that's an incredibly recent phenomenon, isn't it?
To find out, we've come here to Lowell, Massachusetts, because in 1821, it didn't exist.
A local map from that year bears the title, A Plan of Sundry Farms, etc. at Pawtucket. For miles south and east of the Pawtucket Falls, this was just agricultural land, incorporated into the nearby town of Chelmsford.
The one notable man-made structure was this, the Pawtucket Canal. It bypassed the falls and the rapids below. It allowed lumber and other products to be transported down the Merrimack River from its headwaters in New Hampshire all the way to the shipyards of Newburyport on the Massachusetts coast. Completed in 1796, it was a pretty sweet racket, generating a steady revenue stream from its toll fees. At least it did until 1803, when a more popular competitor opened for business right next door. So the Pawtucket Canal lost its monopoly, and a lot of its business and revenue along with it. As a result, this whole area remained a rural backwater for a generation, population 200. Until, in 1821, something happened that changed all that. This!
The owners of the Pawtucket Waterway sold their entire operation, lock, stock, and canal, to the Boston Manufacturing Company. Its founder, Francis Cabot Lowell, had studied textile factories while living in England. Studied a little more closely than their owners seemed to realize. And thanks to his, industrial espionage, Lowell was able to recreate a functioning mechanized mill just outside Boston. The machines were powered by belts connected to rotating shafts along the ceiling. Those shafts, in turn, were driven by a massive flywheel in the basement.
And in the early 1800s, the way you got one of those great big flywheels up to speed was with one of these. The same kind of water wheel that had been driving grain mills in Europe since the Middle Ages.
And that's why, after Francis Lowell's death, his partners brought his mechanized mill design to the Pawtucket Falls. It offered enough power to drive dozens of these wheels. Other entrepreneurs took a chance and followed their lead, and the newly incorporated town of Lowell quickly went from rural backwater to the biggest manufacturing center in North America.
Their gamble paid off. Making cotton textiles in automated factories was faster, cheaper, and more precise than doing it by hand. So demand went through the roof. But there was a catch. In order to meet that demand, factory owners had to find thousands of workers willing to take on grueling 12-hour days and 6-day weeks.
As it turned out, girls and young women flocked to fill these new factory jobs. In 1836, a mill girl named Hannah Wilson wrote to discourage her friend Mary from coming to Lowell in search of factory work.
I think you're better off where you are, for there's more girls than you can shake a stick at the Lawrence Corporation. Holly Thompson has gone to doing housework at Doc Hubbard's. She can not get in the factory nowhere in Lowell.
Still, the mill owners couldn't rest on their laurels. In order to stay profitable and to stay ahead of the competition, they had to find new ways to boost productivity. And that's why the clever chaps at the Appleton Mill hired an eccentric, vegetarian, teetotaling engineer named Uriah Boyden.
They asked Boyden to build them a couple of new improved water wheels. Nothing brilliant about that. The clever part was to promise Boyden that the more efficient those wheels turned out to be, the more he'd get paid.
Well, with an incentive like that, Boyden did what any good engineer would do. He started by copying off the smartest kids in class.
Boyden studied the latest French water power systems, called turbines, and then modified their intakes and outlets to bump up efficiency. His design performed so well that it blew the old technology out of the water. In the coming decades, mills around the country ripped out their medieval-style water wheels and replaced them with ever more efficient turbines. Productivity just kept rising, and the innovations behind it spread like wildfire. The cost of manufactured goods steadily fell while quality continued to improve. It was the dawn of the American Industrial Revolution.